it's an industry that I generally love. I have a passion for. I eat, sleep, I live for fitness.
No, you need to be obsessed. You need to wake up, think about it. You need to go to bed, think about your clients, think about your progress, think about what you can do better.
Genuinely, like, just be like patient and take your time. Like that is like, you've got to take it all in the right steps. You've got to nail what you do in person before you go online.
I don't like to talk about fear. The fears is usually something that makes your worries real.
Welcome to the Coaching Ignited podcast. I'm your host, Alex Povey. It's great to have you here. This show is all about peeling back the curtain on what's going to help you build the fitness business you truly want. And each week we bring on a new guest to share their stories, insights, and strategies so you too can take action and apply what you learn. The podcast is released every Wednesday on all the major platforms, including Spotify and iTunes. So make sure you go give that a subscribe, guys. Now, if you're a personal trainer in a commercial gym with 500 plus members and you want to fast track your income growth and learn how to sign multiple new clients a week, reach out to me personally through Facebook or Instagram and just drop me a private message so we can get the conversation started and see if you could be a good fit for one of our programs. All the links to my social can be found in the show notes so you can connect with me there. Now let's get into this week's episode. Enjoy the show. Hey, what's up? Welcome back. And I want to give a big shout out to all my regular listeners, the trainers, the coaches who show up every single week to listen to the show. I hope you're getting a ton of value and you're learning a lot by being here and from the guests that I bring on. Now, I just want to ask one thing in return. Just one thing. If you're getting some value from this podcast, if you're enjoying it, if you're learning things, I would just ask you to share it with one person. One other personal trainer or coach who would benefit from hearing some of these episodes and this podcast, because I really want to spread the message in terms of what we're doing here, the guests that are coming on, and just making sure that everyone is tapping into this resource to help them in growing their personal training business. So if you can think of just one person, either send it them, give them a link, tag them in a post, and I'd really appreciate that. That's all I ask, okay? There's no fee for watching this or listening to this podcast. It's just share it if you know someone that could get value from it. So on today's episode, we've got Khaled Elmasri. And Khaled is the founder of Rise Events, a fun-packed 3-day business conference that brings together hundreds of gym owners, studio founders, and independent trainers to learn how to grow from leading entrepreneurs in the industry. And in just 3 days of his conference, you can go from knowing absolutely nothing about growing a business in the fitness world to understanding the exact marketing strategy, mindset, and business structure to succeed and scale your company. Khaled has really a wealth of experience. He's got over 11 years worth of experience under his belt managing fitness and sales-based businesses. He has a proven track record of taking teams to new levels of growth and success, and takes a solution-focused approach to developing business strategies that increase overall revenue. His strength is in building high-performance teams through effective recruitment, training, and development. And today we're going to be talking about all things entrepreneurship, fitness, mindset, and some really cool topics that they're very interesting. So make sure you stick around to the end. Let's get into the episode. All right, so we're recording, we're live. And Khaled, I just want to welcome you onto the show, brother. It's so nice to connect with you and have you come and speak to the audience and share some knowledge today.
Man, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited, man. My face looks kind of white. I have this light behind me, so my face looks really white, but I'm pretty dark, but yeah, thanks for having me on.
You've got a really nice, strong beard, though. I just want to give praise to your beard, because I'm a beard guy as well. And for anyone watching this back on the video, you'll be able to see he's got a nice, strong beard. Looks pretty well groomed.
I take care of it. I take care of it. It's those Middle Eastern bloodlines.
Yeah, mate. It's a strong. You just got like a strong jawline shaving, right? So
on this episode, we're talking about beards and how you create
beards. The last guest, actually, Chris Mooney, had a big, thick beard, and he's been rocking that thing for a while. And how long have you been rocking yours for?
Man, it's been a couple years, but I keep it like this. I can't do the big full beard. It's just not. It starts to itch, and I can't do it. So I like nice and tight.
I just have a baby face if I get rid of it now, and I just
So do I.
look like a little kid. And I'm receding a bit on top, so it kind of makes up for the receding.
Oh, yeah.
Makes you
Dude, you and me both, bro. You and me both.
Everyone listening, this is one of our strategies: is just grow the beard to deflect from like the receding hairline. Tip 101, beard tips.
There it is. There's your golden nugget for the episode.
So let's kick things off by just like setting the stage in terms of like who you are and what you do and why we connected. I'd really love to just unpack your story a little bit about how you got into what you're doing right now. So yeah, tell us a bit more, man.
Yeah, man. So I was born in the Middle East, I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. So if anyone knows where that is, war-torn country, moved to the United States when I was 5 years old. My parents took us out of that world and wanted to give us a better life, the American dream, right? Wanted to give us the American dream. So they moved us to California. Grew up in a town called San Luis Obispo. So if anyone is from California that's listening, San Luis Obispo is right on the beach, man. I grew up 10 minutes from the water. So was there my whole life. Got involved in the training back when I was probably like in junior high. I got a trainer in between my junior year and senior year of football, American football, not soccer. And the results I got were amazing. And that for me was kind of like my first like taste of what personal training, what the impact being a trainer can have on somebody. So I started at the front desk of a local gym, worked my way up to trainer, moved up to San Francisco. There was an opportunity to move in with my uncle. I actually wanted to be a cop. So I fell in love with training, but I always wanted to be a cop. Just my uncle was a correction officer. My other uncle was a police officer. So I moved up to San Francisco to go to the police academy. And there was a moment where my uncle's best friend got shot and killed on duty. And that freaked me out. I was like, man, I don't want to put my parents through that. I don't want to put my family through that. So I jumped back into fitness and went all in on being a personal trainer. Within probably like a year, became a fitness director. Sales became really easy and comes really easy to me. So within 6 months to a year, I was a fitness director. Didn't know crap about leadership. Like this was the whole, this guy can sell, so let's put him in a leadership role because he can probably help other people. Dude, you knew nothing about leadership. It was pretty much do it as I say because I have the badge that says I'm a manager. And then in between there, man, I started realizing there's a big gap in the fitness space from trainer to gym owner. And there's this gap where we do a great job setting trainers up for success as technicians. We do a shitty job of setting up for success as business owners and operators. And a lot of that came from my own experience. This wasn't just like I'm sitting back and I it was my own challenges. It was my own experience. So March of 2013, I decided to create an event called Rise. And basically it was a business event for gym owners. Those are either starting out, want to scale, want to build a team, at some point just want to remove themselves from the day-to-day grind and start building a life and a freedom around why they wanted to get into their own gym in the first place. And so we've been doing that for 7 years. And now I'm here in Texas, just moved here about 2 years ago, brought Rise over to Texas. So now I am involved with another company doing team development. So I work with a group of trainers, helping them develop their business, operations, time management, things like that. So that's me in a nutshell.
Nice, man. Love that. And in terms of like the guys, like trainer to gym owner, do you find that there's a lot of people in the industry walking that path where they start out as a trainer and they really have this dream or vision of being a gym owner? Do you see that occurring a lot with the guys that you interact with?
I do. I think, and a part of that is how much of that is fantasy and how much of that is realistically what they want to do. And here's what I mean by that. It's the fantasy piece is if I went out and did my own thing, whatever I'm paying this big box gym, I'd be making myself. So I'd be making more money, but they don't understand what goes into actually running your own gym. So there's the idea of Like, I want to go out on my own and do my own thing, but in reality, I don't know what that all entails. So it's almost like they take the risk and realize, oh crap, I didn't realize this was this bad, and they always come back. I've been doing in 12 years. I've seen trainers leave the gym I was running to go do their own thing. It fails, and then they come back and say, hey, I want to come back and train. And
That's interesting. That's
yeah.
interesting. I want to touch on that because like perception is different to reality, right? Because what you're talking about is how a trainer perceives having a gym.
Yep.
It seems like this lucrative thing where, oh, if I've got my own space, I can be flexible. I can train my clients when I want. I won't have to pay this rent that I'm paying the gym. And it's almost like the grass is greener on the other side, but then it's not really the reality. Can we just unpack the reality of like owning a gym and what it means to own a gym and what commitment that is? So for any young trainer or aspiring trainer that wants to get into the gym business, what does that actually entail? Like, what does it mean to be a gym owner?
I think it's a lot more than I'm just going to leave where I'm at, take my book of business and go over here and open up my own place and make six figures. Like, it is not that easy. And it's almost like this dream state of like, oh, that's going to work. Like, let me be real with you. It doesn't work. And here's why is they leave with this mindset of the technician. I'm just going to have to go get another certification, or I'm going to have to go get more education and think that's going to draw in clients. Well, here's the thing when running a business is you need to understand sales. You need to understand marketing. You need to understand lead gen. You need to understand your numbers and what they mean. And so there's so many things when running your own gym that you're not taught. And if you think of that about it, I'm just going to leave where I'm at and go do this thing over here, and people are just going to follow me, you're mistaken. Like, I've seen trainers who've had 20 plus clients leave thinking all their clients are going to go with them, and literally only like 3 left. So there's this big misconception of what it really means to be a gym owner, when you really have to step back and look at it as you're no longer a trainer, you're now a business operator. What entails and what goes into that category, that's the gap that I feel like as an industry we're missing.
Yeah, it's super interesting because everything from the outside seems good when you're looking at it. It's kind of like Instagram to a degree, right?
Yeah.
Like looking at people's lives, they look so perfect, so glossy, everything's going well. And it's kind of like a personal trainer looking at a gym owner's business and going, wow, all these members that they've got coming in, and they just must be printing money. But then there's loads of overheads that go into that business, and the margins are actually not super lucrative unless you're really good at the operational side of things, business, marketing, retention, upselling, having like supplements that you can sell to the members, or having other services that you can stack on top. Because like at the end of the day, it's a competitive market space. There's a lot of gyms knocking around.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you got to think, like, look in just where I live, there's a Fit Body Boot Camp, there's a Transformation Center, there's an F45, there's an Orange Theory. And what's funny is I get all their marketing because I'm in their category. So I see all their ads, and I kid you not, man, like 90% of them are saying the same stuff. Like, it's the same copy. I feel like they're all working with the same agency, so they're all saying the same thing. So it creates this like competitive, like, what's going to be your competitive advantage? And if you're listening and you think I'm going to just drop my prices, you're going to go out of business. Like, that is not going to work anymore. Like, the race to the bottom, nobody wins. So you're going to deliver a crappy experience. On the flip side, how do you compete with those other studios? Dude, there's things those boutique studios do, like the experience, the results, the client engagement, the customer journey. Like, those are the things now that as we move into 2020 and the next decade, like, that's what's going to set a gym apart from the gym down the street. It's not the leads. And dude, let's be real. Like, how many leads? And this is what kills me is, like, I see these posts on Facebook of, oh, I got 100 leads this month. Like, dude, do you really need 100 leads to run your business? Like, and what, like, can your business fit 100 leads, or are you just churning this wheel of like 100 come and 80 go, 100 come? And it's like, do you really have a healthy business, or are you just one of those boxes that depends on the front end because you have nothing set up on the back end?
Super interesting. I don't know if you've heard of Raz Slaughter.
Yeah.
You've heard of Raz.
I do. I love Raz.
Yeah, he's a good guy because he's knocking around in the same space as us. I think he's based over in the States, isn't he?
Yep. He's based out of Florida.
Yeah, and he's got his own setup, which is 3 studios, and the way you were describing it was the way that he runs it, which is like basically, I think he uses the phrase shaking hands and kissing babies, something along those lines. It's kind of like his philosophy of like really delivering an amazing client experience and building those really solid relationships and going like beyond just enrolling people in as members, making them feel part of the community. He'll give them t-shirts, he'll give them like a water bottle when they join, he'll be shaking hands, he'll be going to see people, checking out everyone's okay, and just really building that amazing client experience. Is kind of what I spoke about yesterday. I did a 4-part series on how to build a 5K a month personal training business on my Facebook profile, and one of the things that I really dialed into was just the client results, but not just client results, client experience. Because everyone wants an experience, right? It's not about the lowest possible price and positioning yourself as a commodity, because you'll just get destroyed. You'll just be driven into the ground and go bankrupt or not be able to live. So it's about not going cheap, but going quality, and just delivering a really quality service. And that doesn't mean as much quantity, it just means quality at a higher price point, blowing them away with quality. And then they become your best marketing campaign anyway, that you don't pay for. There's no ad cost, there's no Facebook ads, there's no agency. If you give an amazing experience, people are naturally going to come to you and go, that studio or that PT, they just deliver an amazing client experience. I want that experience. Kind of like when everyone's wearing like Balenciaga or Gucci shoes, you see everyone wearing them naturally. Oh, I want those too. Social proof.
Exactly.
Social proof, right?
It is. No, absolutely. And you got to think, man, think of it as, there's an article, I think it was Harvard Business. It was called The Experience Economy. And basically it looked at the birthday cake. And back in the 1950s, a birthday cake cost maybe $2, right? Like just for the ingredients, make it together. Now a birthday cake, the experience, now people want to take their kids to Disneyland for their birthday, where the cake still costs $2, but the experience, now people are spending thousands of dollars. But and now the cake is free, but the experience has the value is priceless, because your kid is going to experience, like, my birthday was amazing. Like, the cake became irrelevant. It was the fact that I got to go to Disneyland. So you almost got to take that same concept of, like, the workout is, I want to say it's pointless. It's not
as important as people think.
It's not, because I can go on YouTube and type in full body workout and get a workout. So now, why do I need to come to you? It's the experience. It's your, we've been talking about marketing, organic market. It's getting out into the community. It's partnering up with other restaurants in your community. It's holding seminars at your place, different fat loss, booty building, whatever it is. It's charity workouts. I mean, those 4 things right there, that's organic marketing that will eventually, as leads get more expensive, which they are, how are you going to market? Because here's the thing, like, at some point, the one who pays the most will win. So if you don't know your numbers, you're just going to be throwing money against the wall, hoping you're going to get leads. Why not go the other way and spend a little bit more time focusing on organic marketing and building relationships? Because let's face it, like, that's what's going to sustain your business in the long run.
Yeah, I love that you touched on that point about relationships, because we did an end of year review in our business at the end of 2019, and we were just looking at like where the streams of income came, because we spend money on Facebook ads, we do organic, and we have relationships and partnerships as well with other companies. And pretty much the bulk of our revenue, even when it went into paid advertising in that relationship, it started with a relationship with a person. and we were looking at the bulk of revenue, and it was based on relationships with other people. The bulk of it didn't come from spending tons on marketing.
That's crazy.
And so it's super interesting because we get so fixated on Facebook ads and marketing and SEO and email campaigns. But like, you'd be surprised if you can develop some strategic partnerships with companies where you can cross-sell your services with value. Like, that's game changing, because then you're not exposing yourself to ad cost.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, here's the thing though, man, like, you make a great point. The difference is who's willing to put in the work. Because it's easy to sit behind a computer and create ads and then complain about why your ads aren't working. But are you really putting in the work to get out into the community, or to get out into these businesses, or to hold the seminar? Like, I think that, like, some gym owners are just lazy by nature, man. Like, let's just be real. Like, you don't want to put in the work. You'd rather just sit behind a computer and run ads and hope leads come in, and then complain why you're not getting leads, when you could just go out and, dude, you're like, it's the third place, right? You've got the home, you've got work, and you've got the gym. Like, those are the three places most people go. It's the third place that you're competing with. And it's funny is, I think it was Rick Maya, who I was at an event and he mentioned this, and it made perfect sense. They got to go to work, they got to go home, but they don't have to go to your gym. They can go to the wine bar, they can go to the restaurant, they can go to whatever else it is that's going to distract them from coming to the gym. So what is that third place? So if you've got clients and you know where they go hang out, why are you not hanging out there as well? Like, why are you not talking to that gym or that business owner and say, hey, a lot of my clients love coming to your restaurant. I'd love to work something out with you, or the hair salon, or the wine bar, or whatever it is. That's your competition. It's not the gym down the street. It's that third place other than yours that they're going to, and they're missing workouts because of it.
I love that point you made about the competing with that third piece, the gym. Yep. Gyms are not just competing with other gyms. Like you said, they're competing with, like, restaurants, wine bars, bowling alleys, the cinema. Yeah. Like, you're competing against everything. It's kind of the same with the drinks market. Like, Budweiser and Carlsberg and Beck's are not just competing against other beer brands. They're competing against vodkas. Yep. They're competing against protein shakes. They're competing against milk. Like, everyone's in competition with everything all the time because there's so many options. So it's like, going back to the client experience. Why the fuck would someone want to spend their time and energy with you or in your place, whether it's personal training or in your studio or in your gym? And it breaks back to a couple of things, the relationships, right, Khaled, and also the experience, which we spoke about. The experience, like Disneyland. Like, people want to go and spend their time in Disneyland, even though it's very expensive. It's an enjoyable experience. And if you could create a Disneyland-style gym, I think you'd be pretty wealthy.
Oh, yeah. You'd be printing money if you could do that.
You would be. Let's talk about the upside, though. So we did speak about it being all doom and gloom, and you're not going to make the margins, and it's very tough, and it's hard, and da-da-da-da-da. But also, it can be very, very lucrative. Otherwise, gyms would not exist. And I was down the gym the other day speaking to one of the PTs, and he was telling me about this business guy in the Northwest who was planning to open 3 or 4 different gyms. I was like, that's interesting, because I'm sure there's enough gyms around. But they're adding gyms to the market, which means there's demand for it, or there's a gap where the current supply of gyms is not meeting the quality of the experience that the market's demanding. But if you get it right, let's talk about that. What's the upside of having a gym?
I mean, dude, it's for me, 12 years in, it's like one of the most rewarding industries you could be in. Like, you directly have the opportunity to impact somebody's life and change somebody's life. And man, like, my first year had my first client in 1 year lost 100 pounds. Like, to see her go from where she was to 100 pounds lighter, and her world just opened up, and this whole new person was showing up a year later. Like, that for me is the rewarding part. Like, that's where, like, literally that's what you're getting paid to do. And so Yeah, I think part of it is it's understanding who your market is, right? Your ideal client or ideal audience. I think that's also the biggest piece when you're talking about scalability is who are you talking to? Because I think the positive upside is, yeah, man, it's a lucrative business. You can make a really good. I mean, I know gyms that are making 400,000, 500,000, a million a year doing what they love to do. And it's funny, you don't have to have multiple boxes. Like you can have a buddy of mine in down in LA, less than 2,000 square foot studio, makes 7 figures out of it.
Wow.
So it's not this thing that says I need multiple gyms. Because here's the thing. If you don't have your system, look, let me back up. If you're thinking about scaling, if you don't know your core values, you don't know your vision, you don't know the mission, you don't know your numbers, you don't have your SOPs, you don't have your team and your culture, do not scale. Do not, like, you need to figure out all that stuff and all those and all your profit and your margins, because here's the thing, dude, like you got to know that in order to say, okay, I'm going to open up another location. Otherwise it's going to explode on itself if you don't have those things in place.
Yeah, I like what you said about not getting distracted with opening multiple locations, because like you can do really well out of a single location, and build like an amazing experience and really good revenue by just focusing your attention in one space initially. And I think a lot of people's goals can be met by that one location. It doesn't have to be multiple locations.
No, and I think now you got to look at what does it mean to really scale, because why open up another actual location when you can just go online? Like you almost got to look, because that's a business in itself. Excuse me. Sorry. So sorry, man. I'm still getting over this cough.
It's all right. He's not dying, guys.
No, I'm not. So you also got to look at, like, you also have an opportunity to say, I can go online, not create another level of overhead or a second level of overhead, and still create another revenue stream that's not going to require me to go spend more money on an actual gym. So you almost got to look at the industry itself is providing more opportunities to make more money without physically having to open up another place.
Cool, man. I want to dive into what we said we were going to speak about before we jumped on. And when we initially chatted, we were kind of talking about 2020 and talking about a lot of different things. Some of the things that I'm doing, some of the things that you're doing with your events and stuff. And one of the big kind of hot topics that always keeps coming up on this podcast, probably because the host myself is very interested in this area, and so naturally I like to talk about it and bring it up. But it's something that really touches everyone, affects everyone, particularly entrepreneurs as well, because it's a very lonely place. Being an entrepreneur, being a PT, self-employed, on your own, even though you have a lot of people around you, sometimes you feel alone, don't you?
You do, man. It's one of the most loneliest, like, feelings, and I'm speaking from my experience, and I'm sure you've experienced it as well. It can be lonely, man, because you think nobody understands you, nobody knows what you're going through, and you put yourself in this little box, and you're like, man, like, I just don't know what to do. Or, you know, those nights where you're laying in bed and you're like, crap, like, how do I make my payroll the next morning? Or how do I pay my team? Or how am I going to pay the bills? And, you know, your wife or your girlfriend's right next to you, and you're like, shit, how am I going to make this work? Like, it is one of the most challenging, like, it's lucrative, but man, it is challenging, because you're the headspace and the mindset and just the stories of what comes about when you're having those hard moments in business. Like, it can be very depressing and very lonely at times. So yeah, man, it's a challenge.
And I don't think it gets easier the more you make either. I think there's this almost perception that, oh, if I make another 10K a month, or if I make another 20K a month, or if I make 100K a month, I'm going to be sweet. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to feel great. But it never seems to go like that feeling of there's always something on your mind. And I think the bigger you get, the more pressure that is applied. There's more stress. There's more moving parts. There's more room to trip up, and there's more opportunities to fall harder or like lose what you have. And so as you get bigger, the stress builds up. And I remember just before I went to Thailand, actually early last year, I was pretty much just like working from my home. And my business partner lives in South Manchester, so pretty far away. We weren't meeting up, we were just communicating over the phone. And then we've got a VA out in the Philippines, and now our team's expanded a lot more around the world. But I was pretty much like working out of my home on my own for like 10, 12 hours a day, not really seeing any human being other than like through Zoom, or having phone calls and briefly here and there. And I was feeling a little bit lost. I felt a little bit depressed. I was like, fuck. And I didn't really, and when the computer stopped and there was no one on the screen, or I wasn't communicating with anyone and it was just silent, I was like, I did feel very alone. Yeah. I felt like I was on my own, and I was almost like cabin feverish. I was just in my home office on my own, and felt very disconnected. And I was like, fuck, I need to change this. I need to like get out of this space, because I could implode, or I could let this get to me. And I just wasn't happy. And this is where I decided to just go to Thailand for a month and kind of find myself. You know, when you have these moments where you just need to like just get away and just think. And I went to Thailand, and one of the big realizations that I had was that I thought I could operate really well in like solitude and on my own, but in reality, I can't.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone can really. I don't think it's good for anyone to just be working solely on their own all the time, because it gets lonely, and we're creatures of like tribes and communities. And so if you seclude yourself off, and this is the hard thing as a business owner, because you're building something like either on your own with a business partner or a small team, and they could be located in different locations or around the world, it is very lonely. But then you've just got to like bring yourself back and go, I need to get around people again. And having relationships and having social time is just so important. And one of the things that I did, and this might be useful for anyone listening who is maybe an online coach who is working through a laptop all day long, is I just moved into a big co-working space, which is where I'm at right now, full of people, loads of entrepreneurs, copywriters, tech companies, Deliveroo, like loads of different people. Right. And I can be working, and then every hour or so I can get up and just walk and have a chat to someone, where it's not business related, where it's just like a chat. And it's so valuable that to me that it's changed my whole mood and made my business grow so much faster, because I'm in a positive state versus in a lonely or depressed or secluded place on my own. So yeah, just thought I'd be quite open and honest about where I was at and where I am now, and just in such a better place from just surrounding myself with people and not always making it about business, because that's the trap when you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner or you're a PT. You just business, and you think this is what's going to get me ahead faster, but then you start sabotaging yourself by like putting yourself in those lonely spots. So what's your experience?
Man, I love it, because I think, and I want to hammer home this point, is you talk to other people in your co-working space on things outside of your business. And I think that's a trap we fall into, is our identity becomes our business, and our business becomes our identity. And we don't have like, yes, I run Rise, but Rise is not Khaled. Khaled has his own identity outside of Rise. And I feel like, and this is a big point, because I feel like when the business starts going in a different direction, the business isn't doing well, you're not making money, you know, your finances are not there, clients are leaving, we start looking at ourselves saying, I'm a failure. Well, I am is going to create that belief that you start believing that I am a failure, when in reality, the business, it might be failing, but you're not a failure. It's the fact that and I've been in this point myself where you realize, holy crap, I've been doing this on my own. I need to start surrounding myself with some other people, because I know there's others like me that are doing this. And this is where I joined a mastermind. I got around, 30 other gym owners at that time. And I realized, holy shit, like everybody's going through this. Like we're all kind of a little messed up as entrepreneurs, so it gave me the outlet to really be like, hey guys, like this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm going through. And you'll realize like the guy sitting next to me was like, yeah, man, like I just went through the same thing a year ago. Here's what I did, just to give you some, like, you'll realize other people are either where you're at or have been through it and will coach you. The really cool thing is now you look back at the guy who's just starting and you're able to give them advice on like, hey, I know you're just starting out. Here's some of the things that I went through. I want to give you the blueprint so that you don't want to go through what I went through.
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting how you say that about this mastermind, because there's a lot of parallels between what you just said there and the charity that I'm actually involved in. And I want to explain this in terms of how things used to be, particularly for men as well. Is thousands of years, we would be in tribes or communities and would gather in a central space, maybe around a fire, and just tell stories and just share and share problems and wins. And it would be very like community and tribe based. But then obviously over time, as technology has changed, as developments change, we've got these high-rise buildings with you walking in, you're going in a lift, you're going up to your room, and then you're coming back down, you're going to the gym, you're going to work, you're in a little bubble. And then when you are walking around, you're just staring at a screen into like this reality that you've created. You're not really having those opportunities like consistently enough to just talk, to just offload, to just share problems or struggles or things that are not going well. And it's almost just like building up inside you if you do not have that outlet to like get rid of it. And so like the charity Mental that I'm involved with for guys over the age of 18 who are struggling with those kind of thoughts, it's literally just, hey, let's meet. Let's just sit down in a circle and just share.
I love it.
That's it. There's no, it's not tactical or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, share, how do you feel? And what you said was exactly the same. There's going to be people in that group that were at this point down here, like verge of suicide, ready to like kill themselves 2 days prior. They'd come in like a 0 on the scale. And then there'd be someone else over here who was in that position who was now saying things like, hey, I'm so grateful that I'm still here and I've just had a kid, or I've just got married. And then these people down here are looking at this person and going, wow, he was down here? How is he thinking like that? And then it creates hope for this person that's on the verge of like quitting, that like there's people been in that situation and have survived it. And it's the same with a mastermind experience. The guys coming in for the first time, not knowing what the fuck to do, and just like pulling their hair out, scared, alone. They hear from someone like you who's been in the game for longer saying, hey, I was there too. I was struggling. I was lonely. But guess what? I did this, this, and this, and I figured it out. It's the same thing. Mastermind, the Mental, they're all the same thing. It's communication and speaking and just being open.
For sure. And I think that is part of why I created Rise. It was to fill a gap business, but over time it turned into this like community of gym owners where they would all gather once a year and we would share, and there'd be different levels of gym owners in the room. Some under a certain, per, annual price point, right? So they're making X amount of dollars per year. Some were making a little bit more, but you had this like this blend of these 2 to 3 different worlds, and they're all talking to each other and they're all sharing ideas and best practices. And man, like, dude, I was where you were a year ago. Like, this is what I did. And it became this like Rise, like that's why it's called like Rise as a movement, right? And that's why this year I changed the whole. Before is really about attracting, converting, and delivering an experience. Like that was the 3 pillars. I went through my own little personal experience this past November with having to postpone the event. And I went through those dark for about a month and a half, I was in this really dark space of like, I'm alone. There's nobody around me. Nobody understands what I'm going through. Like, I got depressed. I put on some weight. Like, I went through a lot of those same feelings. And then in there, I was like, there's something here that I don't feel like is being talked about at events. And it's the wellness piece. And so I ended up changing Rise to Rise Business and wellness, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. That's because I feel like as we do such a great job talking about wellness to our customers, our clients, our communities, but we're not talking about wellness for the entrepreneur, the gym owner, the business operator. Like, what do you do in those dark moments when your identity is based off your business and your business is struggling and you're so depressed that you feel like you need to take your life because you don't know anything else. Like, you don't know who else to reach you because you felt alone. And so now the mission of the event is really business wellness mindset. Like, those are the 3 pillars, because I feel like this wellness mindset piece, if we don't get that right, like, you can't help other people if you can't take care of yourself. And so that's like
love that piece
yeah.
that you said then. I use that myself. Say it again for everyone listening.
I will. You can't help other people if you are not taking care of yourself.
Love it. I love that piece because it's so true in this industry as well, where it's a service-based industry where, like, you're here to serve and provide for others and make people's needs a priority. You put yourself on the line, particularly when it comes to health and fitness. And, like, a lot of the time you neglect yourself, but actually that's having an impact on the quality of your service and the way you can show up in the world to serve the people that are paying you to serve them. So I love that you did that, that you said that. And also I love the fact that you said, it's not just about the strategies and tactics and systems, because that's only one piece of the puzzle. And if you don't have the mindset, self-awareness, and the wellness side of it, like you said, then everything else just falls to shit.
Oh yeah.
Because you can implode and you can't execute on anything.
Yep. And it's like you're not showing up. Like, you can't show up for yourself, for your family, for your clients, for your community. Like, if your body, like, it feels like shit and you're not and you can't show up in a certain way, what do you think happens to the business? Like, so yeah, we can talk business strategies, leads, sales, all that good stuff. But if you're constantly sick or you're not mentally right or you're having a shitty day, and like, how are you actually going to show up for those other things? You're not going to. It's going to be a different person shows up when you're in a different state. And so part of this is really discovering what are some things I could do when I'm in this negative state. One of them is being grateful. Like, I got this freedom journal right here. I just got it. And it's like, nice. Every morning, what am I grateful for? What are the 3 things I want to accomplish today? So I do that every morning. And then at the evening, I will come back and reflect. What were 3 things that you did accomplish? Did you accomplish those 3 things? What were some challenges today? So I'm constantly in this dialogue with me and my own mindset of, like, what happened today? What worked? What didn't work? What needs to happen tomorrow? Reaching out to friends, doing things like this where I can now go, like, if you're in a mentally crappy space, go help somebody. Like, go do that. Like, go, like, drop what you're doing and maybe go down and help somebody. Go train somebody on the floor for free. Like, go donate something. Go spend time somewhere. Like, go do something else for someone else. And it changed. Like, you can't be in a negative mindset when you're grateful for being alive. Let's just be real. So
I love that piece about going to help someone else, because, like, giving is cool as fuck. And, like, it's selfless, but it's also, like, very fulfilling at the same time. And you're so right. I've had days where I'm, like, a little bit, like, low energy, low frequency, and I've just walked into the shop to get something, like a piece of fruit, and then I've just seen, like, a chocolate bar that I would normally eat and like, and I think's, like, really nice, and I don't really eat chocolate, but I'll buy it anyway. I'll walk outside and I'll just give it to a guy on the street.
I love it.
And then I walk away and I'll be like, fuck.
It feels good.
For 70p, number one, he's happy as fuck. And two, I feel good for the next 2 hours that I did something selfless and didn't expect anything in return. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to really enjoy that. He's going to enjoy that Oreo, Cadbury's chocolate bar. And I'm just feeling good. And even just talking about it just makes me feel good. And you're so right. When you give, like, you give back. So if you're feeling empty, like, put something out there and you'll get something back. And it's such an important principle, and I love that about being grateful too. So as we kind of wrap this thing up, I want you to really say something to the guys who are probably in that personal training role, coach role, where the gym or the studio is their vision, is their next step, is the place that they want to get to. What would you say to those guys in that phase of considering it and looking at potentially opening a gym? What piece of advice would you like to give them, Khaled?
I mean, I think the biggest thing I can give anyone in that space is start getting clear on what it is you want that next step to look like. Like, clear. I'm not saying I want to open a gym. Like, I hear, get clear on your vision. Get clear on what you stand for, get clear on who you want to work with, and then get clear on your messaging. Like, because I feel like those 4 steps when done, and now, like, don't be in such a hurry to jump the ship and go to the other side. Like, make sure you've got all that detailed out and all that written out, and it's clear as day. Like, who do you want to work with? Like, what's the dream? Like, almost like the Martin Luther King, I have a dream speech. Like, what is your dream? Like, who do you want to impact? Like, what do you want to fight? Like, I want to fight obesity. Like, that is why that's my dream. I want to beat obesity. So, like, what's your dream? And get clear on that, because the cool thing is, once you get that cleared and it resonates and it makes sense, you'd be surprised how many people, ideal clients, start showing up because they align to your message. And so you don't have to run ads and spend all this money. Just showing up with a clear intent of who you are, what you stand for, and your mission, people will start becoming drawn to that, and people will walk into the door. So before you jump on Facebook ads, get clear on those things, and it makes the world of a difference.
Great piece of advice. Really love that, man. I want to thank you so much. I'm grateful that you came on and we had this amazing chat. And that you spend your time with our audience and sharing value. I'm really, really grateful for that. For anyone that's listening who wants to find out more about what you do and where you hang out, where shall they go?
I'm always on Facebook. Look me up, Khaled Elmasri. I'm also on Instagram. It's KElmasri1. Drop me a message. I'm more than happy to talk, chat, help you out, whatever I can do. So yeah, that's where I hang out.
Awesome, man. And we'll chuck the links in the show notes. I want to thank you again for coming on, mate. You're an awesome dude, and it was so good connecting with you.
My pleasure, man. I'm grateful you invited me on. So this was awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy it, I'd be really grateful if you could leave a short review on one of the platforms. And if you're a personal trainer in a commercial gym with 500 plus members and you want to fast track your income growth and learn how to sign multiple new clients a week, reach out to me personally through Facebook or Instagram and just drop me a private message so we can get the conversation started and see if you could be a good fit for one of our programs. All the links to my social can be found in the show notes so we can connect there. See you next week.